following video is not an expert opinion. It is a first blush list of information you might not be able to see if you look it up in the news for some reason. The Russian Ministry of Defense said the following. Now, read the wording the way it's printed and look up their exact quote transliterated from Russian. Claims of Polish deaths are a deliberate provocation with aim of escalating the situation. No, that's simply the effect of it, but that's almost like they're denying anyone died. 2 people died. Russian Ministry of Defense also says strikes on targets, calling them targets, near Ukraine-Polish state border were not made by Russian means of destruction. That's a very specific term, a very specific wording, and we're going to get to that in a minute. Russian Ministry of Defense said wreckage found at the scene has nothing to do with Russian weapons. They also said that they weren't using Iranian drones when they were, so I'm not really putting any stock in anything that's said there. But anyway, let's move on to this. This is a single frame that I'm using as a reference point to do a simple confirmation here. This is being taken from someone's window looking out. They have aerial antennas outside, and this is taken from Poland. And nobody indicates the angle or anything like that, but we're going to look at this for a minute. Poland grain dryer, 2 dead, explosion, missiles fired at Lviv, Ukraine may have fallen short. That's my hypothesis. And it was 1,540 hours, 40 minutes. Or basically, that's 3 a.m. at the night on the 15th of this month. We see a road curving this way. So we're going to say from the source of the camera, it's curving to the left. Then it jumps diagonally this way, splits, and then there's this building and another one barely visible back here in the video, and the explosion happens here before another building over here. Now we're going to go to the map and see if we can see a pair of buildings in string, another one here, and then one over here in a straight line with that. So this is the perspective given by the camera. Here's our curve to the left there that swings this way and then goes this way. Here's the explosion, and here's some houses in the distance, and here's 2 buildings lining up. That's the Google Maps version. This is the other. Many countries deviate where they say the roads are by 50 feet left, right, or whatever. In China, I call it Chinese windage. And this is saying that the explosion happened here. That's the impact point. This is where Wikipedia says it is, at this building here. I'm going to include both pieces of information so you can find it, and you be the judge. But that's at least in line with what we're seeing in the camera image. Now, the deviation here is not the same distance as from here to here, so I don't know why Wikipedia has that. There are actually 2 locations the missile struck, if you're not aware. One of them hit, really hit, a tractor-trailer thing, and another explosion hit a location that is referred to as the grain place. So basically someone's front yard got hit, or a business area, and another one got hit here. We don't have all of the data from both images on the ground. We kind of do, but not quite. This is a really horribly done Wikipedia map, and I'm sorry. So anyway, here's Poland. This is Belarus, which is on the side of Russia, and Belarus and Poland had a good relationship until 2020 or whatever. This is an area called Brest. Russian vehicles observed occasionally here. Not a likely location for missiles to come from. Now, we're going to be going back looking at that map again. Excuse me. I'm going to zoom out. And I'm going to switch to the political map rather than the aerial map here. So we can zoom out and see the angle I'm seeing here. Now, you notice that deviation between the 2 locations. That's within like a couple of 100 feet of each other. This is the location that ostensibly was being fired upon, right here, this city here or somewhere about there. There are claims that the impact happened like X number of miles from the border. It's a really short distance from the border. But I want to point out the pathway that would be likely. If they were aiming for here, which is the area that was being hit at that moment, this happened in the middle of a barrage hitting specifically here. And you'd have to look at the videos to see which way, if they indicate even direction, they were coming mostly from the north. Now, that means that they could have been coming from quite literally anywhere along here in, or they had did an incursion into Ukraine, and/or we have Russians or Belarusians launching from Poland. I don't think so. But this is a unique angle if this is accurate, which it may not be, where they would have ended up launching a missile that would have ended up crossing Polish territory no matter what, and might have just fallen short, which is the working theory I'm working with right now. It's the one I'm bringing up. The other claim is that this was being hit, and someone launched missiles to take out some rockets from wherever, and that it was actually the Ukrainians hitting this town by accident with 2 missiles. Now, in the fog of war, that is a possibility. Both are possible. The fact is that only one country is saying things like, well, if you claim there was any dead, that's a lie. Or, it's not Russian-made. People in this area, including Ukrainians, may be using reused equipment from the Russians. The Russians gave equipment to Belarus. The Russian equipment gets smuggled into whatever country. This has been a pattern that people have seen in every fight. Like, I think this is Mariupol. I think that was involved in something several years ago. Me and several others noticed a lot of Russian equipment and American equipment getting thrown around by both sides. They just pick up whatever weaponry, missiles and rockets and bombs they can get a hold of and use them. But this is like 120-mile launch range. Well, that's within the range of all of the missiles people are bandying about on Twitter. And it falling short by, X number of miles here is not that far-fetched. Now, aside from trying to find Google Street Views that are anywhere near here, which is really a pain in the rump, I'm not going to have anything more to say on this, and I'll probably end the video, but let me just put this back up here. And again, all maps show the roads not in the position they really are. There's only a few roads in the area, and they're all like a pretty good distance away. They're like halfway to the border with Ukraine. So if I see an angle that matches another image that I'll show you in a minute, that's great, but I'm not counting on that working out very well. Let me turn off our street views there. So yeah, so this and this location were hit by 2 missiles, probably aimed for the same location and or fighting a war. Now here's the problem. Both of these locations are nearly right angles to each other. These are the 2 locations that were hit by missiles. And to emphasize that, I mean literally, look at this. That's the exact location according to Wikipedia for one impact. They don't mention where the other impact is. And this is the one that's indicated by everyone in the area so far, but I can't read Russian or Polish or whatever. That indicates strongly that the missiles were aiming north to south, not east to west, right? Well, okay, last possibility. These could have been takedown or shoot-down missile attempts by someone far to the right. Okay, let's try that. That's possible. Okay, let's do that. That means they would have had to have launched from over here by this highway system here and or somewhere in the Ukraine. If you want to claim the Ukrainians did it, that means they would have to fire in a direction they are absolutely aware of is over into Poland. Or they could have just come down here and fired from Belarus, or I can't pronounce it over here. Lots of I can't pronounce it. Wouldn't they just do that? They're at the Polish-Ukraine border, and a highway's right here. They have, you can look at videos, people mentioning these places I can't pronounce. They've lined up missile batteries to take down things that come over, and people are like, well, you're very close to the border. Yeah, but they're aiming east to west, where they would end up firing from here into their own country if needed, to not hit Poland. But anyway, again, I'm trying to transliterate from Russian, and I'm failing badly. So anyway, that's about it, and then I'll just bring up the next image. Excuse me, that's the big map. That's the only image I haven't been able to track down. There's very few images, like 4 images, and that indicates the wind was blowing from our right to our left after the explosion, and this is probably several minutes later. And I'm very good at finding locations on maps, so I will try to locate where this map image was, where this photo was taken from on the map. If I can't, I'll just say in an addendum I couldn't find it. Good luck finding it. I'm sure someone else will. The point I'm making here is the most likely scenario here isn't that the Russians are completely innocent or whatever. Pinsk. The most likely scenario here is that it was a firing from either Belarus or some area that was held by some Russian sympathizers firing, and they were aiming towards an area that was being shelled at the time. And they ended up hitting this area in 2 places. Grain dryer and such. So yeah, the Russian Ministry of Defense said wreckage found at the scene has nothing to do with Russian weapons. That's specific, saying it's not Russian made. This one here is saying Russian means of destruction strikes on targets. That's an interesting wording. And then lastly, claims that there were deaths in Poland is a deliberate provocation to escalate the situation. That sounds like they're denying anyone died. No one dies in a war if we look guilty. So anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. If I find out what angle this image was taken from, I will include it in the description.